Given the limitations imposed by physical existence, the path towards deeper understanding is often hindered by the social conventions of an age. Since individual growth often conflicts with the broader narrative of social cohesion. From the system's point of view, self-worth is a distant second to net worth. Therefore the system acts in its own best interests, to protect the populace from ideology deemed incompatible with commercial values. Considering the potential threat to productivity, the system will likely act swiftly to protect its assets. In light of what it perceives to be a legitimate threat, such action is deemed necessary to protect the social order. For the distinction between nonconformity and extremism is non-existent in a climate of fear. The gap between either end of the spectrum becoming somewhat blurred. Each having different goals, springing from differences in core ideology. By collectively lumping divergent value systems together, only serves to complicate the issue. To grasp a better understanding of the core ideology behind a movement, it's only natural to try to perceive the world from the opposing point of view. By casting aside preconceived notions, in order to gain an insight from the opposing viewpoint. Without a rational attempt to pry beneath the surface of an opposing viewpoint, limits the insight gleaned from an understanding of the opposite perspective. The failure to comprehend another's perspective undermines any attempt to empathize with their struggle. In the absence of clear understanding, there's only assumption with regards to another's motive. Failure to comprehend another's ideology essentially erodes any chance of meaningful insight. Since insight is derived from a determination to strike at the heart of truth. Any mediocre attempt to pry at the edges results in nothing more than an educated guess. In order to cast aside the cloak of falsehood to see what others are blind to, requires determination and mental focus. For insight is elusive in nature, hiding its treasures from the light of day. Therefore the only way to approach foreign ideology, is to cast aside any preconceived notions. To digest the information free from mental refinement. As it's quite common to filter thought subconsciously. Essentially undermining the objective one seeks to achieve. Unless an individual is consciously aware of this, it could potentially distort the intended outcome. For mental clarity is an essential component in the attainment of a deeper understanding. The depth of insight determined by one's ability to recognize the underlying nature of truth. Essentially dissolving the veil of ignorance which renders the broader population blind. Without a conscious effort to pry beneath the surface of common misconception, to examine in greater detail the components that comprise the greater whole. The opportunity to glean a deeper understanding is all but lost. For the nature of insight demands that we subject ourselves to rigorous enquiry, questioning all that stands between ignorance and truth. For only a genuine effort will pierce the bubble of misconception, hindering our efforts of attaining a deeper wisdom. While extremely vigorous, such endeavors stimulate curiosity while touching upon the nature of the infinite. For the mind's treasures transcend the boundaries imposed by physical limitation. Providing each of us with a glimpse of hidden dimensions. Whether we choose to live in ignorance, or openly embrace this knowledge, determines the degree it manifests. Since each of us shape reality through the medium of consciousness. To what degree we are consciously aware of this, shapes the very fabric of our daily existence. Since every material form owes a debt to the mind's inner workings. For the conscious act of creation forms the basis of the material world. As intricate patterns of thought naturally seek expression in material form. For the mind acts much like a bridge, connecting each of these individual realms.